Welcome back to my channel. This is Chelsea Colley, and I have a lovely guest today. Welcome, Bruce Snyder. So glad to have you here today.
Thanks, Chelsea, very much for inviting me. It's an honor to be here.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate that you said yes, even though I know you're super duper busy covering everything. But Bruce is very busy as an independent journalist, reporter, and you are self-funded, isn't that right?
That's right. Yeah, everything is independent on my end. It's kind of a new day and time that we live in because we're going up against mainstream media, so we have to be self-sufficient.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it just seems like you have been really censored more than anyone I've seen. You've got taken down off Facebook like how many times?
It's in the 90s. I know that because we were counting, and at first we weren't. And then we went back and started compiling, like, how many times have I been taken down? Then we started keeping track. I think the Facebook page I have right now is the 92. And that doesn't include the number of times I was like temporarily suspended and put in jail. I'm talking about taken down 91 times. Now I'm on my 92nd account. I don't have an answer to why. It doesn't make any sense to me. Somehow my name or something got caught in this algorithm matrix, if you will, and I get targeted all the time. So, I'm not putting anything crazy out there. I have a reputation not to do that clickbait stuff, and I just been censored by Meta, Facebook, for all these since 2020 now. I mean, a lot of us have been censored. I get that, but I couldn't understand why I kept getting taken down. And I'm blessed to have this army of followers who are absolutely amazing people. And I set it up to a way if I go down, I'd have to create another link and email, and they keep in touch with me. So if I create a new Facebook page, they would get informed right away. So we kind of got that down pat, if you will. But now that Trump's back in, I'm on there. I'm not being taken down. And of course, I know Meta said something about their getting rid of the fact checkers and things like that. But so far, so good. And I've been on there since March, I do believe, and haven't been touched since. So we'll see what happens.
Wow. And so I was going to ask you, did started in 2020? The censorship started in 2020, is that
It,
right?
it did. It started with the two things with the COVID. No, you couldn't talk about COVID, as we all know. And it
Right.
started with Hunter Biden. Once the Hunter Biden laptop story hit, that was a big no-no too. And so now we come to find out that the Biden administration themselves was behind that, making sure we all got gotten taken down. So, neither here nor there. It's crazy to think that we live in a world where censorship was, we seeing it on full display. Uh, I was obviously a big part of it, and it is very frustrating. Don't get me wrong. And I really didn't like the fact that I had to put so much extra work and effort into trying to stay on a platform and keep coming back on a platform and creating a new account when I'm kind of busy with researching the news and getting it out there. But now I got to put all this extra energy in and all this. For years I had to do that. So
Right.
I just hope we're at a point now it stops. We'll see. But we're in a new time right now with President Trump back in. And I have to admit, I'm pretty excited about the future, the way things are going, even though things look scary on the surface right now.
Right. Which is exactly why I really wanted you to talk to you because you really seem to have a good hold of what's going on. I mean, clearly you're right over the target if you've been deplatformed 91 times from Facebook alone
Yeah.
in 5 years. That's unheard of. So would you mind telling us a little bit about your background since you are probably new to a lot of my viewers? And if you are on Facebook, definitely find him, Bruce Snyder.
Yeah.
Yeah, but just a little bit about your background. I know you do also talk about the Q stuff, which is cool how you tie that into like your actual, just journalistic research and facts and all that. But if you don't mind, just kind of an overview of your history since you're kind of new to some of my viewers here.
Sure, no problem. Well, basically, I think I was when it came to the news, growing up as a kid, I always tell my audience that my big red pill for me, and it wasn't a red pill per se, it was a moment, defining a moment in my life. I was a kid, and I saw the footage of the day Ronald Reagan was shot. And when Ronald Reagan was shot, I just remember being glued to the TV and watching it over and over again. I just wanted to absorb as much information as I could. And I was mesmerized by how the newscasters would cover that. It was covered for 24/7 on every channel, just over and over and over again. And times are different back then. We didn't have all these channels or the internet, so you pretty much had to watch that. It's all you had. But I was enamored with the coverage. And then, I did kind of put I had a fascination as a kid with kind of a Super 8 film camera. Then the video cameras came, and I started recording as a kid, and I realized I'm pretty decent. I got a good handheld shot and all this. Long story short, I knew that I wanted to get into this type of field. I went to school for this. Went to broadcast television production school, and I learned all that. So I have a background in that. And in that class, I really went there. This is a true story. I really went there because I just wanted hands-on in the field with their equipment and everything, because my dream has always been to be an independent filmmaker. And being from Ohio, I didn't have the resources at the time to get into like an NYU or something like that to study film. So I went here locally, and I learned all about news broadcasting, behind the scenes, in the field, all that. And I gave 110% with that class. I was very focused. I graduated as the top student in that class, and I just knew this was something I wanted to do. So now I'm involved with I've got all this background now in education and covering the news, but I never in a million years wanted to do what I'm doing right now. I never wanted to be in front of the camera. That's not for me. And even though maybe I'm coming across a little comfortable right now, it's because I've been doing it for a long time, but I've always been a behind the scenes guy. I'd rather be a producer, having on-air talent to where I'm researching the news behind the scenes and stuff like that. So after school, I got real busy in the field of production, video production. I worked for independent, different houses, production houses. I did some news things, news coverage here and there, sporting events, live events, concerts. My strong suit is directing live events. I love doing that. I love having that pressure, all kinds of cameramen and live event going on, and calling the shots. I love it. But other than that, and then I realized once Donald Trump came down that golden escalator and announced that he was running for the president of the United States in 2015, was it 2016? And I was happy. And I just remember saying, this is incredible, because now we're going to have somebody who's not, we didn't hear the term swamp yet, drain the swamp, but not a part of the establishment. And I knew that. And I'm like, we're going to bring a businessman in. The first thing I remember saying was, I remember telling my late wife, I said to her, I said, this is wonderful. This would be great for the American economy because they're bringing a businessman in. So at that particular time, I'm not doing news. I'm not doing anything like this whatsoever. I was already in pre-production for an independent film that I've been working on for quite some time now. But and we were doing that, and I was promoting this pre-production of this film and everything else. Didn't even get into the news, and I kept seeing day after day how they were going after Donald Trump, and I just realized how bad this was. I'm like, okay, I got to make a decision here. What am I going to do? And I'm like, I have a completely different audience back then than I do now. And I'm like, well, I'm going to start reporting the news. I think I should start doing this. And I started to do it. And then the next thing you know, it started to grow and grow. And I'm like, I better get a microphone because I think I can add 2 cents to everything here. And that's what happened. And then
And when
COVID,
was that, Bruce?
that was in his first term. So that was probably, I would say I went all in around 2018. Okay.
Okay.
And then COVID comes, and then the world shuts down basically. I have to put my film on the back burner. And now in full time with this. And here I
Mhm.
am today. So this is what I've been doing ever since. Um, Independent. I love doing what I do. But one thing I like to tell your audience, which is very important, I despise the internet's difficult right now, and I despise clickbait. I despise the fake stuff that gets put out there all the time because we're going up against the establishment, we're going up against the mainstream media, and it's our job, if we're going to do this, to combat that with the truth. So that's why I'm pretty darn careful about what I put out there. I always double check, triple check everything, and make sure it's real. And if I'm going to give an opinion of my own based on, my own research and everything, I better make sure it's done responsibly and not just some, BS that I'm going to put out there because people follow me or whatever. So I take it very seriously what I do. And it's an honor to do what I do, knowing that this time, this period in history right now, that we have the ability to do what you and I are doing right now. We can communicate, we can, and then we can put this out, and it can, can go viral if it wants to, and a lot of people can see that. So that's why I take it as a responsibility. Whatever I put out, whatever I say, make sure I'm doing it responsible, with integrity and thought provoking, I guess. So,
Awesome. I respect that, and I value that um, you really want to triple check and double check and put real information out there.
yeah.
And for like a part of my story, like, I mean, I was already like majorly into personal development and, working on myself, like
Mm,
pretty much always.
yeah.
And then like when 2020 happened, I was scared initially, and then I guess the first thing I got was an interview about Benghazi, and this was like very much hidden. I don't know if you heard about the whistleblower Alan Perot.
I know of Alan Pro, yes.
Okay. Yeah, well, that was the first thing I ever got, and I was like shocked and like trying to tell the world about it, right?
Right.
Because I do consider myself not a tattletale, but like I think tattletales are brave. Like I think it's brave to, to put something out there that's not widely accepted or whatever.
Mm,
So yeah, the Benghazi rabbit hole was the first, and then I kind of like just went off on all the rabbit holes, like many of us did in
yeah.
2020. So I guess I was part of that, like maybe second wave or whatever. You guys were well at work before that. But I thought it was interesting because I really follow a lot of the spiritual community and like a lot of people on YouTube. And I
Mm,
followed like JC and Janine, and they would, like do the news, but also like do it with like tarot cards and different spiritual astrological perspectives and stuff like that.
mhm,
But then I'd see like my friend Michelle Moore Winder, who's also a journalist. I don't know if you know her, but
mhm,
she's been reporting the news on Facebook ever since 2020, and she's awesome. But she's independent, but she's confirming all the stuff that's coming out in this area. And then we have other independent journalists that are also censored that are confirming the same things, and it's like all the same topics, but kind of different groups and different language. This one's from the business people, and this one's from
right.
spiritual people, and you're from the real like boots on the ground journalist.
Mhm.
So I just think it's really interesting how like everybody has a voice, and it's painting a picture for everybody if they do the work to learn. I
Absolutely.
don't know where we want to go from there, but
Well, you talk about doing the work, and it is a lot of work, especially getting into this right now. Anybody out there who's doing independent type of journalism, especially if you go in with both feet, and if you decide to go all in, um, hopefully they have a passion for it, because it is all day long. It is lots of hours. It will consume you. So I don't know how anybody is able to do it if they got a full-time family and all this other stuff. Because this right
right.
now, the time we're living in is just quite incredible what is going on. And now that we're witnessing with Donald Trump back in office, and he's obviously, to me, he is following through with a plan that he's had in place for some time. And he's going forward with that. And right now, currently, of course, this video is being recorded, and right now the hot topic is Israel and Iran, and
Right.
Trump wanting to go in. So
And
um,
there's a lot of fear around Trump right now.
there is. I have none whatsoever.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I can see the direction that everything is going in. I have two little grandsons, and I say all the time, I do this. I love doing what I do, but I'm doing it also for them. I want them to have a better world. So when I get up every morning and I want to fight this world of disinformation and misinformation and from lies to truth and everything else, I think about them. And I want them to be able, my grandson, my oldest is going into first grade next year or this at the end of summer. And then I have a 3-year-old grandson. And I just want them to be taught the correct academic curriculum when it comes to things like world history, and all that,
Yeah.
and not the propaganda. So that's why I really respected when Donald Trump came in, all the areas he targeted right away. And one of those was the Department of Education, and no, he knows exactly the indoctrination, the propaganda, and the things that are being taught in a good handful of certain schools throughout the country. And I know they usually fall under blue type of states, but that's what I think about all the time. I just want my grandchildren to be taught the correct way and not be indoctrinated going through the education system. So
Yeah, definitely.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much, and then with all the recent events, like I don't know, the Trump Elon thing. What are your opinions on that Trump Elon little?
Well, I don't know if anybody can give an exact can give an answer to that, but my opinion on that personally, I do believe it's staged. I will say that I think this through. I think you mentioned about the queue, and I don't really want to go down that road too much, but I see there is a big connection there, and I put out connections from time to time, and the coincidences are there are way too many, and they're happening right now. Even during this interview, I just seen a couple before that perfectly connected to Dan Scavino and Donald Trump, and it's like it's really unbelievable to watch. Um, but with all that going on in that Elon thing, I think it was done intentionally. I also think that Elon Musk purchasing Twitter was a part of this plan that people have talked about when they say trust the plan. I absolutely believe in my heart that that was part of this, because if he did not buy Twitter, I don't know if Donald Trump would have won the election. I think they would have stole it again. Twitter was such a big platform. It was an extension of the left for them to control the narrative and everything else. And that's why I believe Elon purchasing it just changed the absolute game. So I think it was staged. And I know a lot of people talk about he was off his meds, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. Maybe that is true. But I see too much that because of the way it came out, okay, it came out so fast and furious out of left field that Elon starts attacking Trump. I'm like, okay, maybe one post, but not one after the other. And, first I said, this guy on a drunken rant or something? What's going on? So, I think it's staged. I think we'll find out why down the road here in the near future, why that happened. I think there's a lot of misinformation being put out there intentionally by people like Donald Trump, Dan Scavino, all these people right now, because they know that what they're doing is they're using the art of war. And people have to remember what Donald Trump said from day one. We're going to drain the swamp, and we're fighting the deep state right now, and they're still there. And that includes Iran. Okay. Because, I don't want to go too deep into that, but, Iran is part of the deep state. They are at the epicenter of being a part of causing forever wars. Everything could always trace back to Iran, and
Wow.
they're a part of with the terrorist organizations, like I said on my podcast the other night, the Houthis, Hamas, Hezbollah, all of them, and they have them in different parts of that region out there, and they're part of starting wars. Okay, people have to know Hamas going into Israel on October 7th, that was 100% Iran. That was all Iran doing that to start that conflict. So, and here we are in my entire life. And I'm a little older than you, and I've seen this with Iran my entire life, and I always knew that they were the axis of evil. And I'm behind Donald Trump in his decision making right now. I know, and I can say this unequivocally. He will not go to war. He will not put boots on the ground. He will not send our men and women in there, our soldiers in there, and put them in harm's way. This is completely different than anything anybody is used to because the way this is progressing, he has Iran's back against the wall, and he's going to make the world a safer place. I don't want to give Donald Trump all the credit, but he's a major puzzle piece. But there's a lot more people and alliances, not just in the U.S., but alliances around the world with working with Donald Trump that we don't see behind the scenes. Okay, so again, I'm a firm believer right now in my mind that we are witnessing something we have never seen before, and we're on the verge of breakthrough, going through this darkness of evil still. And this has to be dealt with, even though it's unpopular right now, and it seems to be a little bit of division in the MAGA world. But I think this has to be done. He knows it has to be done. Many people know it has to be done for us to get to that point. And if we don't, this is just one area, but this is such a big deal right now with the Iran situation because we're going to live in a better world. In this world, when we all went down that rabbit hole in 2020, and we're locked down in COVID, and everybody's going down that rabbit hole, and we're all discovering all this stuff. And then you start hearing things about the Great Awakening and a new world, good versus evil, and all the disturbing child trafficking things, and that all comes to light. But we have to remember it's not going to be easy. The Great Awakening is not easy. It's been difficult. We had to go through 4 years of Joe Biden on purpose, in my opinion. That was part of waking up the world as well. And
Oh,
here,
that sucked.
yeah, and it sucked. You're right, 100%. And then here we
Yeah.
are. Here we are now. I assure you, even though it looks scary on the surface and a little confusing to people right now, we are in the very good part of going into a new world and the golden age, like Donald Trump talks about.
What are your thoughts on the whole, thank you for saying that. But what are your thoughts on the whole, like, financial system and QFS and Nassar and all that?
I don't, we've talked about this a few times, and I used to have on some other folks that used to come onto my podcast, and we used to talk about, I know the number one thing people always want to talk about is this thing called Nasara Jasara. I'm well aware of that.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I've seen the internet breakdown of it that would float online, and we discussed it in depth. And the gentleman I had on for a number of shows a while back, he was a financial guy, an expert, if you will. And just like he said, I'll piggyback off of what he said. His name was Joe. And I respected his opinion. And he said, this whole Nasara Jasara thing is all fine and dandy, but we all can't become millionaires and get this gigantic pot of gold because the world still needs ditch diggers and people to work and do all that. And that's how the world works. And I agree with him. But I do believe also that when it comes to all that and entering a new realm, and I know people are very petrified. I have different demographics, when it comes to different social media platforms. My Facebook platform, I know my demographic, okay? And those folks seem to be a little intimidated by the whole digital currency thing and going into the things that we're talking about, QFS and in the financial world. And a lot of people who I respect and I understand. I look at the Bible too, and they're worried about, the one world currency, the digital age, and everything else. And I can see where that would raise a concern and wondering if we're at the end times. And I know people think that's where we're headed. I don't personally. I'm a Christian, and I'm a very deep believer, and I don't think we're at the end times. I think we're at the end times will come one day. I don't think you and I will see that in our lifetime. Of course I could be wrong, but this is just my personal discernment that I have within my spirit. And I don't think we're seeing that. I think we're seeing birthing pains, maybe of the end times, but that we're none of us are going to see that. And we're seeing something new, a cleansing, if you will, on earth. Even though, like I said, it's scary on the surface right now, but we're seeing a cleansing. It's exciting to watch going into the golden age and going into perhaps this digital age. I can't give too much I didn't go too much when it comes to all the QFS and things like that that you speak of. I've never given it too much of my energy, if you will, because I always said, let that play out. My strong suit, besides just reporting the news, has always been, the wars and foreign affairs and relations and all that stuff. And that's my strong suit, and I love that. But I really think that, like, I believe Donald Trump what he says when he says about the golden age. Um, will we all get some sort of kickback? I do believe so. I think that's going to happen this term. I don't know exactly how that will be. You see him talking about Jerome Powell right now and lowering the interest rates day after day. It's like he wants to fire him any minute now. There's a lot of things that he's putting in place, and he's taking a lot of crap for that right now. A lot of the stuff he's doing. And the other problem too is everybody that's the folks that are in the MAGA community, and there's different parts of that. Everybody wants everything immediately right now, and they're getting frustrated so quickly. Like everything had to be done in the first 30 days, and I'm like, just this entire term is going to be completely draining the swamp, creating a new life for not only our children, but the financial life that the question you asked me about, and getting everything back in place. This will be nothing like we've ever witnessed before. This goes beyond just a presidential candidate coming out and saying, no new taxes and read my lips, George Bush. And this is actually delivering on promise. I've never in my lifetime seen a president deliver on promises one after the other like he spoke about. Never. I love Reagan, but Donald Trump is delivered on everything. It may not come the way we want it to in our time, but it will happen. So that's why people have to be very patient. I'd be very excited about the future. I'd be very excited about I think some people are got some limited thinking because I get questions all the time. When are we getting our $5,000 kickback with Doge and all that other stuff? I think people are limiting their thinking. I think we have such a great there's an opportunity that I can see that's coming our way that all of us are going to have access to, whether maybe we get a refund in taxes and things like that. But I think when it comes to small businesses, entrepreneurs, education, everything, there's going to be so many avenues that are going to open up for us financially, and it's really going to come back as the land of opportunity, if you will. So I'd be very excited about what's to come, even though it's not quite here yet, but I would be very excited.
That's awesome. Yeah, and like I just wanted to kind of go back to some of the conversations that we've been talking about. Like we touched on Twitter and Elon Musk, and it does seem like things are happening for a reason,
Mhm.
and they are actually getting some of the results that we want. I mean, we do want the criminals to go to jail, the people that are vandalizing Teslas, and isn't it funny that they orchestrated this and picked a car that is surrounded in video cameras,
Yeah, right.
for one? Yeah. And then, like this splish splash, whatever, going back and forth with Elon Musk and how, they're like happy that he's calling Trump out, and then, he's like, I went too far and apologized. And then I joked that like all the violent liberals are going to like put back on the vandalism they went to clean off.
Yeah, right, exactly.
But and then also, it got like the Democrats asking for the Epstein files. So it just does seem like it actually is manipulating what we want. It's like the doesn't matter who asks for it, like we want the Epstein files released.
Right.
So yeah, you can see where some of these like art of war chess moves are actually having good results. Like I know it really sucks to have like people do violence all over the streets for no
Right.
reason and all that, but hey, at least I hope a lot of them were arrested, and I hope some good comes of it somehow.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that you're so positive and you feel so good about Trump still. You're
I
pointing
do.
out that people are like wavering and like going anti-Trump. You're like hold the line, like keep the faith. And I think it's a message that we need right now. Because there is that fear, like there is that fear, like what if Trump is really a bad guy and he's just tricking us all? And then, but when I go down that road, like in my head, like with the Q and everything, like why would they want us to learn about the dirty deeds? Like if it were the evil people, they would not want us to know about that stuff. What's your opinion if somebody's like, how do you know Trump isn't like leading us all into a like, you know,
Into the abyss.
ill situation?
Well, first of all, my discernment. Okay. I really believe that. And again, this is, we didn't go into any of that, but I have a very strong foundation in my life and in my belief and my discernment with God tells me that. And I just know, and it's something that I don't question. I don't try and go back and forth. And when those things happen, like you just described, and you start wondering, is he a bad guy and stuff? Well, that's, in my opinion, that's the devil coming after your thoughts. All right. And everything. It's like, no, I'm gonna stand firm here. And at the end of the day, if I'm wrong, and Trump is the bad guy and he misleads us all and it all goes to hell. All right. Well, I'm wrong, but God not only, but God help us all. That would be terrifying to think about. So I don't even entertain those things because time and time again, he has proven himself. And I realize that we're going to go through some things that are going to be bumpy along the way, but we have to hold on. And I don't think those slogans online, like hold the line, they really mean something. It's easy for me to post it on social media and say, hold the line, but really hold the line. Don't waver. Don't waver at home when you're by yourself and you're thinking, is Donald Trump bad? Is this or whatever's bombarding your thoughts? And just say, no, I'm going to stand firm and I'm going to, when I'm off the computer and I'm not online and using digital devices, I'm going to pray about it. And I'm going to not listen to anybody else. And I'm going to stay on that narrow path. And it is a narrow path. And right now, that's the narrow path that I'm on. And I know for certain, and I don't even question it, that
Yeah.
Donald Trump is doing the right thing. And I don't see any reason for me to be alarmed about it, even though it looks scary on the surface right now. Don't listen to the noise online, is what my suggestion.
Right. Because yeah, like I think it was like Tuesday this week that we were starting to hear, okay, Trump's thinking of bombing the whatever underground facilities. And then the next day it was being shared like Trump is in control of Iranian airspace, which I
Yep.
don't know if that's true or not, but yeah, it's just definitely like this back and forth.
Right.
Fear and not knowing, Trump's like very happy with people not knowing his exact thoughts and what he's going to do and that's smart, obviously like we want to be strategic in our war moves and all that.
Yes, we do.
Is there anything else that we want to share? Anything else that we haven't covered or anything?
Um, I don't think so off the top of my head, but the only thing I could say is one, it's an honor to do this interview with you. And it takes people like yourself to do these things and to get this information out there. Even though you're just interviews about me and you're sharing a little bit about me, and I'm very grateful for that. But we need to keep going forward and we need to, again, like when I talk about the future of my grandchildren, we all have family and children, etc that we want the best for. And this is why we're doing what we do. So if you're going to stay in the information war, okay, warfare it is, do it with everything you have and don't waver and be convicted about it. And when you do it, combine that with a spiritual foundation, a relationship with God, if you will. And I'm not trying to shove that down anybody's throat, but when you have those two elements, when you have a strong foundation and you're trying to put the truth out in the world, you can't go wrong. You're gonna stay true to yourself.
That's right.
Mhm.
Awesome. So where can we, thank you for that message, by the way.
Yep.
Where can we find you if we
You can
connect?
find me on X at Real Bruce Snyder, Telegram Real Bruce Snyder, Rumble Bruce Snyder. Facebook, I don't have a URL. It's just whatever Facebook gives you, but you can just look up Bruce Snyder on there. Put in Bruce Snyder at MindFix TV. MindFix TV is the name of my company, and it'll pop up.
Okay. Awesome. Well, I appreciate your time and everything that you do and all of your hard work. So thank you so much. And thank you for coming here today.
Thank you, Chelsea, and keep doing what you're doing as well.
All right.
Okay.
Talk to you next time. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Bye bye.